following is a special presentation of WEDU Tampa, St. Petersburg, Sarasota.
There's no one exactly like you. No one has the same financial goals or cares about the same people. That's why Raymond James Financial Advisors have the independence to offer unbiased advice that's right for you. And it's why we pioneered the idea of financial planning. You might say we're just as unique as you are. Raymond James, individual solutions from independent advisors.
There's no single definition of the word knowledge on which scholars agree, but rather numerous theories and continued debate about the nature of knowledge. Knowledge is what is known, and acquiring it involves complex cognitive processes, perception, learning, and reasoning. Universities thrive on knowledge, and embracing the concept of business knowledge, which essentially bridges the academic and entrepreneurial worlds. And it's by creating and disseminating this knowledge, which places entrepreneurs above the competitive edge.
There's a fallacy that many people believe that being an entrepreneur means concentrating in only one field. Few realize that being an entrepreneur allows you to have many pursuits, which can include flying a plane, writing a book, traveling the world, and accomplishing things you may never have dreamed of. Being an entrepreneur isn't just about running a small business. It's a lifestyle, which includes continuous learning and never giving up. This young lady happens to do all this and more. Diane Welch is an entrepreneur who's managed to fulfill her many interests, which have included flying this plane, traveling the world, and writing several journals. She's accomplished these goals while juggling the demands of both the business and academic worlds. For Diane, the journey wasn't easy and started at a very young age.
I was raised in a family business, and I worked in a family business from the time I was 7 years old. And so as a result of that, I was around entrepreneurs my entire life.
While most people end up using a BlackBerry as a tool to help their business, Diane's humble beginnings as an entrepreneur was selling them, which then led her to start her own business.
During my master's, I was at a small school called Emporia State University in Emporia, Kansas, and really wanted to have my own business. And so I noticed that there wasn't any food service at the university except a cafeteria style dining. And so I started the Ice Cream Castle, and it was a stucco building that was across from campus, and I painted it sort of orange sherbet color and with white trim, and I had one of the art students actually do a wooden hanging sign like a castle, and we called it the Ice Cream Castle. And inside we sold exclusive ice cream that you could only get in Kansas City from a small homemade dairy.
This entrepreneurial talent was juggled on the side while Diane was studying for her master's degree. Trying various small businesses and also coming from an entrepreneurial family helped her learn.
My father created soft-sided luggage Holden Welsh Sr. in 1962, and it came out of a sporting goods line of canvas gear bags and gun cases.
And in no time at all, Diane was packing these same suitcases and flying off to unexpected places such as the Middle East and Southeast Asia. As a consultant, she started up her own advising firm while still running her ice cream shop.
In 1994, I formed my own consulting firm, which was Welsh International, Inc., and that really started with the Big O Tire Company. And Big O met me at one of the International Franchise Association conventions, and at the time they had two CEOs because the board had replaced the CEO that was there, and the franchisees had their own CEO that had been the CEO for a number of years. And so they said the only person that the CEO is going to listen to is somebody that's got higher education than him.
During the same time, Diane couldn't get the study bug out of her, and she also obtained her PhD.
I had a very tight schedule of, being in school, working as a graduate assistant, taking the classes, taking my daughter, who was very young at the time. I had her in the university daycare system, and then, basically pick her up at night. I had a very full schedule, and then she'd go to bed about 9 o'clock. I would study till 2 in the morning and then be back up at 6.
As a professor, she started teaching others about running small businesses and even started her own entrepreneur scholarly journal. Her consulting has included large corporations such as Tico Energy and Goodwill Industries, and she's also consulted with foreign governments.
I was asked by the Ministry of Communication in Kuwait to actually come and talk to their ministers. And through that process, I was the first woman that spoke in English to the ministry, basically about how you transition. It was about deregulation in the communication industry. It was about the telecommunications industry and how do we go about deregulating and actually rewarding employees, rewarding people that were in systems that always were paid their regular paycheck. There wasn't any incentives to do better or to sell better or to make a difference.
She has spoken in places throughout the world, including Bahrain, Dubai, Kuwait, El Salvador, Russia, England, Finland, and Malaysia.
I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, and I knew, even as an undergraduate, I was an English major with 47 hours of business, but I loved the world. I loved to see the world. So at 17, I was able to go to Switzerland because I didn't get picked for a student abroad semester, and my mother knew somebody else, and they had family over in Switzerland and a babysitter for the summer. So I got to go there at 17, and that was a wonderful experience for me because I've always wanted to explore the world.
On her return to America, when she least expected it, Diane was honored as a presidential appointee of the U.S. Air Force Academy. Her entrepreneurial journey has taken her to meet world leaders such as Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and the Pope. Diane was also honored with the highest research award by the German Franchise Institute.
As soon as I was done with my doctorate, I started my consulting business, basically. And what I saw was an opportunity to really help other people be more successful in their businesses and to bring that entrepreneurial spirit to them and open up different avenues for growth in their business and to be creative and to look for different opportunities that they may not be looking at. And so that transcends government, industry, retail, wholesale. It transcends everything you do in the business world.
The highest reward for a person's toil is not what they get for it, but what they become by it.
My determination is what's always carried me through.
She leads the global advancement of entrepreneurship education and practice through the development of teaching, research, and outreach initiatives that inspire thinking and cultivate leadership in all organizations and society.
What separates high-energy, deeply focused entrepreneurs from the rest of us? Frankly, there's no difference. We all have that entrepreneurial spirit within. So in this class, what I'm trying to do is bring out that entrepreneurial spirit in you, right? So you guys can grab hold of it and realize your potential.
Today, Dr. Diane Welch is a scholar and the Distinguished Chair of Entrepreneurship and a Professor of Management at the University of Tampa. How did she do all this?
Never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Today I have the pleasure of speaking with the Distinguished Chair of Entrepreneurship and the Professor of Management at the University of Tampa, Dr. Diane Welch. Thank you, Dr. Welch, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You've had a dynamic and fascinating background prior to your position as chair at the University of Tampa, and you were once a small business owner, which has now flourished into another type of work world for you. Can you tell us briefly a little bit about your entrepreneurial experience?
Well, I started out at the age of 7, and I sold black raspberries that were growing along the cliffs in my hometown of Iowa Falls, Iowa, and went to the local Fairway grocery store and sold those. And that's where my entrepreneurial experience began. My father also created the very first soft-sided luggage in the world and in 1963. And it was a company called Boyd Luggage, and he created that out of a sporting goods line. So my entire life I've been surrounded by entrepreneurs, aunts, uncles, cousins, they're everywhere.
You've set up this new program at the University of Tampa. Can you tell us more about it?
It's really exciting. It combines the knowledge base of entrepreneurship with experiential learning. So it's really what counts in today's world is really learning and then doing. So it's not just about traditional academic knowledge that we used to teach in books. It's really about applying that and doing it.
Talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurship side of it. What is it that you teach your students that's different from other business programs?
I think I teach my students the ability to take knowledge and run with the ball. And that's a whole different philosophy than just teaching it. My students actually do something with it. So our program is based on that, taking that learning, and I apply a lot of experiences and knowledge I've had in the business world from having 4 of my own businesses there also. I think the difference in what we do is having the experience that goes along with the knowledge base.
So does this program help them prepare to start their own business out of school?
Absolutely. I've had 16 students that have started successful businesses while they've been at the university, and a number of them right now.
So does this mean self-employment is the only option after they graduate?
Absolutely not. Many companies need to be, all companies need to be entrepreneurial to be competitive in today's world. And we do that through teaching students to be innovative, creative, and to take the knowledge of entrepreneurship and apply it in any job they may have in a corporate environment.
So how many other universities, I guess statewide, have this type of program?
I think it depends very much on the professor and their knowledge base. I think our program is unique because we really teach real-world knowledge with the book learning. And there's a number, most universities around the country have entrepreneur programs. There's 1,200 programs now around the country.
Oh, wow. And in terms of your chairwomanship, are you one of the few women in this field?
There's 5 endowed chairs that are women entrepreneurs. And I'm actually an academic entrepreneur.
Oh, that's
so
incredible.
it's a little different, probably.
So some of the skills I guess you would teach is about communication, having intellectual ability and teamwork, which is what a lot of businesses look for. Will students actually learn these aspects about business once they get out of the school?
Oh, absolutely, and it's applying that with passion, with the ability to scan the environment, to be on the lookout all the time for opportunities. And so what's an opportunity, whether it's in a work environment or outside a work environment when you're starting your own business, the same concepts apply.
When most people are starting their own business, they don't know how to put together a business plan. Does the program actually teach students how to put together a business plan?
Absolutely. We start out with a feasibility analysis class where they actually put together a real-life feasibility plan that's about 30 pages long, which is a little on the long side for it, but then they can hone it down after they take the next step. Following that, they take a marketing research class and an entrepreneurial finance class, and then finish up with a full-blown business plan class. So we take them through the entire process in order to really culminate in a business plan that is judged by the CEO Council of the Tampa Bay area.
Lecturers are caught in a clash between scholarship and business, and academics tend to consider that the major function of a university is to teach ideas, values, and skills, and this new generation of students have a different mindset. Isn't this two ways of thinking, different ways of thinking overall?
The new generation of knowledge in a knowledge-based economy has to combine both, and that's what I do in the classroom. And I do that because I have a passion for learning, for wanting to pass on and make others successful and to make a difference. And I think that if you don't combine the experiential, the actual taking and doing, I tell students, don't wait, start the business now, because you need that experience. Maybe you're not going to have, Dell computers or Microsoft to start out with, but you're going to learn from that experience and to take that and use it. And that's really how knowledge is formed. So in today's world, you have to combine both. It's not an either or.
People just don't have enough time these days, so they're jumping onto the internet to get either a master's or even a PhD. Do you think the quality of education has gone down, or do you see it as innovative? What do you think of this whole concept?
I really think that the answer to that is in the job market. And the job market doesn't value those degrees, and that's reality.
Oh, really?
And so reality is what is the outcome of what you do. And so everybody needs to look at that, and there is a difference between accredited institutions and not, and people just get confused with that because it's like, what's this got to do with me? However, on the other side of it, I think it's time that academia, and we have responded to Saturday morning programs, weekend programs, evening programs, so there's a lot of options that weren't there 5 years ago. So competition in a way is very good because it's brought us into the marketplace and made us more aware that these are needs that weren't being addressed in terms of timing.
When do you feel an entrepreneur should stop pursuing further education? Because there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs out there with just a basic bachelor's or even a high school education.
Education never stops. Education can be in the workplace, it can be in the job market, it can be reading the newspaper. Today's knowledge base is everywhere. It's how you design your life, to be on the lookout for opportunities and to continually learn. That's really what it's about, and that's exciting.
Right.
You know, learning doesn't have to be just in a classroom.
But some studies are showing that organizations tend to hire people with just the master's and not necessarily a PhD, because PhD students tend to have high expectations.
I think that's very interesting to me, and I think it's because the workplace hasn't caught up with the fact that there is some entrepreneurs that are in academics and that everything isn't pure. But there's some very pure academics there. That's not the kind of people that are going to work well in the business world.
Right.
So they belong in universities, and there's other people that can transcend.
So it goes back to the clash of both cultures there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that in today's world, the model's changing. We need to change. The business world needs to change. And we need to do that to meet the new generation. And this generation is much more demanding. It looks at the world different. They're very, you know, in 1960 the question was, how do I move up in the corporation? Today's question is, for corporations, do you have a workout room, and can I go off to India to study?
That's a good point.
You know, different cultures.
Speaking of India and Asia, you've worked and consulted in countries such as Malaysia and Dubai. And when I was in these countries, I noticed they're putting a lot of money into education, and they're also involved with a lot of educational twinning programs with other universities. Is the school doing something along those lines, or do they plan to do twinning programs?
Yes, and we have some programs that are working with other universities around the world that are in the development stage. We have an initiative, very strong initiative that's recognized nationally to be internationally based